Welcome back to Thoughts of Ascendance of a Bookworm. Today we are looking at episode 9, The Guildmaster's Granddaughter. The episode starts with Lutz and Mine receiving their payment for the paper. We can see piles of coins on the desk, and Lutz claims that's the largest amount of money he has ever seen in one place. Given the currency denominations we will get in just a moment, the total value of this small set of coins is a massive 111,111,100 leone. Just so you know, in a year, Gunter makes around 1,120,000 leone. So doing some quick maths, we can see that Gunter's yearly wage is worth just over 1% of the total value of these coins. That is a ridiculous amount of money for Benno to just have on his desk. Putting money aside for now, Mine says she has never bought anything herself and doesn't actually know how much things are worth. It makes sense as well that Benno would be so doubtful about this. This girl who can clearly negotiate like an adult and has knowledge of business, not knowing anything about the value of money is just absurd. But as Lutz says, and as we've seen, Mine is too weak to go running errands alone, so she has never had the need to learn about the values of coins. Benno now has Mark go over the denominations so that Mine can learn about currency. He says that 1 small bronze is equal to 10 leone, and that 10 small bronzes are worth 100 leone, or 1 medium bronze. This pattern continues with the next coin being equal to 10 of the coins below it. The highest coin value is 1 large gold, which is equal to 10 million leone. Seeing these numbers, I was curious about any way to convert it to a currency in our world, to make visualizing the value of items easier for me. Now, I introduce to you the Thoughts of Anime Conversion Index, or TOACI for short. I will warn you, this is a very inaccurate conversion, but I think the prices you get can be quite reasonable sometimes, and also quite funny in others. To do the conversion, I took what looks to be a regular brown onion selling for 30 leone a piece in the market during episode 1. I then did the reasonable thing of looking at how much an onion costs in a store near me, and had 3 brown onions costing roughly 9 Great British pence if I account for inflation, or 30 pence each. This conversion then comes out nicely to 1 small bronze, roughly equaling 10 pence. Converting the rest, we get the other values like 1 medium bronze equaling 1 pound coin, and so on. This would mean that the stack of coins on Benno's desk is equal to around 1,111,111 pounds. Just an astonishingly high value to have on hand. Anyway, they now receive their payment of 1 small silver and 8 large bronzes each. 18,000 leone or 180 pounds each. Although in this sense it may not seem like much, considering that this is for a few sheets of paper, it's a high price. Especially when you consider that things like equipment costs were redacted from their total pay. I also want to point out that the fact that Benno has 18 large bronzes means he has even more money there than what we saw earlier, which is just terrifying. With Benno now talking about mass production in the spring and making money, Mine asks if the hairpin she made for Thule's baptism would sell well. And Benno's face of surprise says it will certainly sell for a lot. We saw the intrigue it caused on the day of the baptism, so it makes sense that Benno would be eyeing it up as a product with great interest. I like Mine's consideration for Lutz as well when she says she makes the ornament whilst Lutz makes the sticks. She isn't accidentally leaving him behind or making him feel useless again, although Lutz clearly wasn't thinking about that. I like the confidence in Benno's eyes when he asks them if they have time to go somewhere with him. It shows that he is certain he will do well in something. We now arrive at the Merchants Guild, and I just want to point out that you can actually see it in the background during the meeting with Otto and Benno. It shows how thought out the design of this place is. Benno then gives us some information that you must be registered with the guild to sell products, and if you're found doing so without a license, you will be heavily punished. Pretty basic stuff. We now see some magic as Benno uses a card to open a gate, allowing them to go upstairs. Magic is used here as a form of security by making sure not just anyone can enter the important parts of the guild. When we're at the reception, we can see that the upstairs is already nicer than downstairs. But also, the confusion in the receptionist's voice when he says a carpenter's son and a soldier's daughter hints towards an issue that will come later on. Mine doesn't really care though, and instead gets excited over the filing cabinet. Although it's nice to see Benno looking restless as he bounces his knee up and down, it's more interesting to see the contents of the shelf. Mercantile law is pretty self-explanatory. Noble almanacs are likely giving information on noble etiquette, special dates for nobles, as well as information on specific nobles, to make interactions between the nobles and merchants easier. However, the thing mine focuses on is the map. Benno then tells us for the first time that the city we are in is called Erinfest, and is named after the lord. He then gives us some small bits of information regarding what's around the city, but to the west he says there's a river, and that the lord is good friends with the lord of the neighbouring domain. I would just like some clarification on what domain it is talking about here though. Is it just another city or town in the central district? Is it referring to Groschel, the neighbouring province, or even Frenbeltag, the neighbouring duchy? I'm really not sure because all three are possible, but the river seems so small and Ehrenfest the city so central that I'm not sure. Entering the Guildmaster's room, we get an immediate sense of his power based on his position in the room alone. I like how he gets straight down to business. It shows he is very business-minded, just like Benno is. It's also interesting to learn that temporary registrations are for unbaptized children to help their family businesses. This makes a lot of sense, since children aren't supposed to work until their baptisms, instead helping out around the house. I want to point out his attitude in the dub too. I love how he adds on, I'm shocked you'd even ask. Benno has the upper hand though by having mine show him the hairpin. From his reaction, it is very clearly something he wants, and mine is realizing this. I love Benno's flamboyancy here too. It feels like he is acting so much. Obviously, he knew the Guildmaster would approve once he saw what they were selling, but just the body language and tone of voice is so over the top that I love it. The Guildmaster then approves their temporary registration. They are now given IDs and have to stamp their blood on it. Given that the gate earlier was clearly operated using magic, I reckon commoners have to stamp their blood because it has the highest concentration of their mana. All humans have mana in this world, but commoners typically only have a trace amount. And given what we see later in the series, it would appear mana is concentrated more in the blood, so that's a cool detail. But with business discussions starting, I like that the Guildmaster now sits with them rather than looming over them. It shows how they are now on more equal ground. He then says he wants the hair ornament for his granddaughter's baptism outfit and proposes a price. However, Benno uses the short notice as a way of increasing it. Mine also talks the Guildmaster into letting them see the outfit in order to customize the hair ornament to suit her. Seeing the potential in Mine through her insight, he tries to recruit her off of Benno, but Benno will not have it and orders Mine to outright reject him. Back at the Gilberta Company, Mark tells us that the Guildmaster is paying 4 small silvers for the hair ornament. That's 40,000 leone, or around £400. Much like Mine says, this feels like a daylight robbery for a piece of wood and some thread. And I think Benno knows this too, given how he said the Guildmaster jumped on it and so he charged this much. It makes me think that their actual value is a lot lower, but because the Guildmaster was so desperate, Benno charged more. We now also get our merchant's phrase with, if you can make money, make as much of it whenever, wherever, and however you can, showing their mindset of profit first. Benno then tells Mine that she needs to understand that the products she makes are luxury items, and if she prices them wrongly, she could turn the market upside down. It makes a lot of sense. Imagine if a luxury item you wanted suddenly became affordable to everyone. Not only would it lose its exclusivity, but it would also damage other businesses, profits, as well as potentially jobs and income for people. So it makes a lot of sense why Benno is so serious with his speech here. After depositing their small silver coins with the Merchants Guild, Benno warns them that Frida takes after her grandfather the most, and so they must be careful. Back at home, we see Effa and TOACI congratulating Mine on earning some money, and as soon as Gunter returns home, he too joins in, despite not having a clue what it's about. It is again nice to see how supportive and caring Mine's family is. For Lutz, it is a bit different. Although his family was definitely proud and happy that he made some money, they're still clearly against him becoming a merchant. It's great to see how much they set up this disagreement between him and his family. With Lutz reaffirming his dream and saying he wouldn't mind selling books with mine though, we meet Frida and reach the midpoint of the episode. Returning to the episode, Frida claims she knew it was mine because of her hairpin. That is certainly identifiable characteristic of mine's appearance, although I think mine's hair being shiny is more noticeable. It may not be from a distance though. Our boy Lutz then tries to greet her politely, but is ignored by Frida. Lutz can just not catch a break from being ignored. Frida does say you too in the doublo, so at least that's there. As Frida leads them to her home, Mine thinks that she screams well-bred rich girl, and that Benno was unfounded in his worries. That is judging a book by its cover right there. But at the same time, Frida does give off rich girl vibes through her outfit and commanding presence. At the Otmar Company, we get a glimpse of the Guildmaster's merchandise. It seems to be mostly decorative items, and just by comparing the overall looks to Benno's store, we can see that this one is far nicer. Frida's first similarity to her grandfather is her wanting to get right to business. Upon seeing the sample, Frida gets excited and tells us that she always loves watching the baptism parade, but the one last summer caught her eye because of a hair ornament. We then see Frida's baptism outfit, and it's nice to see that hers has red embroidery, using the divine colour of winter compared to the blue which TOACI had for summer. After going over designs and colour combinations, Mine points out an issue with Frida's hairstyle, saying she would need two to have it like that. Frida and Mine then get into an argument over payment, with Frida saying she will double their pay and Mine saying the thread is enough already. I personally understand Mine's point of view here more. She's received something in return, so it cancels out. I don't get why Frida insists on paying double though, when she has been told it is okay, but maybe she just wouldn't want to feel like she's taking advantage of them. But Lutz then interjects, saying that the second one can just be half price. I reckon he felt so cool joining in on the business talk. I mean, just look at his body language. He's even speaking with his eyes closed. Bro thinks he is the coldest person in the room right now. Frida Len says she's fine with that before repeating the saying Benno said earlier about making money. I like that this is what makes mine realize that Frida is a proper merchant. Following negotiations, Frida gives them some juice with the taste surprising mine and Lutz. I think we were told about Frida's cook here to both establish Frida further as a rich girl who doesn't cook, but also to hint towards the cook's talent and skill. I also love how Lutz checks out upon hearing that Frida has a personal cook. Mine then asks her about her hobbies, to which she says counting her money. That is just the most Scrooge McDuck answer possible, and I like that Lutz gets even more disconnected from the conversation. Frida clearly loves this though, so power to her. I find it funny how mine trying to relate made Frida immediately try and employ her. Her eagerness makes me feel as though Frida is actually rather lonely, or at least not understood by most. But her attempts to steal mine sound extremely familiar to the guild masters, giving mine deja vu. Back at the Gilberta Company, Benno shouts at them for making the second one half price, telling them about the knock-on effects it could cause, but he ultimately praises them for at least charging something. When Benno asks them how Frida was, it's interesting to see Lutz compare her to mine, and I mean, you can see it with how passionate they get over their hobbies. Anyway, we now jump forward a month, and I'm not going to lie, I don't think it would have taken them a month to make the two hairpins. But Frida praises them and tries them on. Grandpa Gustav then says she looks pretty, like a flower fairy. I like how soft-spoken the guildmaster is here as well compared to the meeting earlier in the episode. It shows how much he cares for Frida. With Benno and Gustav gone to discuss business, Frida pays for the ornaments herself. And I thought the hairpin was supposed to be a gift for her baptism. So the fact that Frida is paying herself is crazy to me. I suppose the guildmaster's gift was arranging her meeting with mine, or maybe he'll pay her back later. From this point, Frida also insists on mine dropping the miss because they're friends now. Frida now praises the innovation of making an ornament entirely out of thread instead of embroidering it onto cloth, saying it could be revolutionary. Here is where we see that mine's ideas are luxuries, using methods never even thought of before, or at least ones that aren't common in the present. Sensing mine panicking low, Lutz stresses they should leave to help her keep her past life a secret. He is such a great friend. With mine explaining her illness to Friedelo, she asks if it is the devouring. And whilst we first found out about the devouring back in episode 6, it is only now in episode 9 that mine finds out about it. Frida informs us that she knows what it's like because she too has the devouring, pointing to how small she is. It's only a small thing, but it is interesting to find out that devouring somehow stunts growth. We now find out though that it's incurable, which I suppose makes sense. After all, it's not so much an illness as it is just mana that's not being properly controlled. But Frida says it can be controlled with a lot of money, as well as staying motivated. In one last effort, she tries to recruit mine, saying they can make a lot of money together. But she ultimately gets shut down, leaving her with a solemn expression before the ending plays. Chibi segment time, and mine and Ferdinand discuss the devouring, with mine comparing herself to a migratory fish once she finds out that she needs to stay motivated and keep moving forward to survive. It's funny to see the scientist in Ferdinand emerge, wanting to see this new type of fish for himself. But with mine urging him to worry more about her than the fish, the episode ends. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed. Please leave your thoughts below. Bye!